Every now and then you take a look at your income and you say, you know, I just got to earn more money. Or if you have a business, you want your business to grow. Well, you know, it all starts right in here. It's just a decision. Now, you could be blaming conditions or circumstance, but it's never the conditions or circumstance. It's what's going on in here. If you think it's the conditions and circumstance, then you're letting something outside make the decision for you. You'll find two people in the same situation. One wins, one loses. It's all in our own mind. Now, the paradigm is an interesting tool. It controls our life, literally controls our life. And we really didn't make it. Somebody else built it. So when you look at this here, the Paradigm Shift program, this is a resourceful environment. There's people here that can help you. They can help you a lot. And they're from around the world, come together to collaborate, mastermind, and explore opportunities for developing financial independence by establishing multiple sources of income. While I was sleeping last night, I was earning money. I'm not quite sure how much I was earning, but I was earning it. And it was coming in from different parts of the world. Now, I don't really keep track of it, but every now and then I ask somebody and they say, yeah, that's the way it's working. Like right now, we have people in, thousands of people in over 100 countries that are in this seminar through that camera over there.
Let's go.
Give them a hand. I did an Instagram here just about 20 minutes ago with Stefan, and I was mentioning that it doesn't matter where you are. We'll come right onto your phone, onto your computer, onto your TV, in your home, in your office. It's absolutely incredible when you think of what we can do today. There's no end to what we can do. And the only limit we've got is in our own mind. Anderson pointed that out in a great book, Three Magic Words. Some of you are familiar with it. And he said, when we fully realize that thought causes all, we'll know there's never any limits that we ourselves don't impose. We put the brakes on ourselves. We build the limits ourselves. And we don't have to do it. We don't have to. We can change it. Now take a look what a paradigm is. It's a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. Now think about that. It's a program, a mental program. It's in our subconscious mind. Just like you have programs in your computer, well, you've got one in your biocomputer. It's called a paradigm. It's in your subconscious mind, and it has almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior, and almost all of your behavior is habitual. Now, you don't have to be the most aware individual in the world to realize this is so. You just have to get a little bit honest with yourself and pay attention to your own behavior. Take a look at your own results, and you'll see there's habit patterns. Now, I don't know what time you get up, but you probably get up about the same time every day. And then when you get up, there's a routine that you move into, and you just keep doing it. And you do this over and over and over again, and there seems to be no end to this. Now, the bizarre part about this, hardly anybody pays attention to that. They don't even know this is happening. They don't know it. When you become aware of it, it's almost shocking when we look at it. Like, I can remember very clearly the day, it was 59 years ago, that a man gave me this book. And he looked at me and he said, you can have anything you want. Now, there's probably somebody here in the room that was much like I was. I was broke, I mean, really broke. But I'd always been that way, so it wasn't too different. I never had any money. I hadn't gone to school. And I believed that you couldn't get a good job if you didn't go to school, so I never even tried to get a good job. I always had a bad job, dumb jobs. And he said, you can have anything you want. I couldn't believe that. But this guy spoke with such conviction that it registered in my mind that he believed it. Then he said, if you do exactly what I tell you. And I don't know why. I was 26. I had never done what I was told. I'd spent a number of years in the Canadian Navy. I got into a lot of trouble because I wouldn't do what I was told. I lost all kinds of jobs because I wouldn't do what I was told. He said, if you'll do exactly what I tell you. Now, for some strange reason, I did. I decided I would. And my income went from $4,000 a year to $14,500 a month in less than a year. The change was so shocking. Yet for the longest time, I didn't think it would last. I didn't know what I thought would happen, but it not only lasted, it got better. Now, I know that if I can do that, you can do that. If I could change that much, anybody can. This is not rocket science. It's so simple, you could reject it. It's so simple, you could not pay attention to it. But I guarantee you, it could literally change your life. Corey, come up and give me a shape of all the countries we have consultants in. There's over 80 countries. Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Ghana, Switzerland, Slovenia, Qatar, Philippines, Nigeria, Finland, Malaysia, Romania, Thailand, Vietnam, all over the world. And it started out, it was just me. But I had that book, and I had a damn good mentor, a real good coach. And I got smart enough to do what he said. I quit asking the guys that I hung out with what they thought I should do. They didn't know any more than me. And I'd been doing that for a long time. I wasn't getting good advice, and they weren't getting it if they asked me. Everything changed, and it changed so dramatically that I'm still sort of fascinated with what happened and what's happening. And it keeps happening. It doesn't stop. And it will for you. Now, take a look at what Steve Jobs says here. He said, for 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning, and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? Whenever the answer's been no, for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Well, ask yourself, do you want to keep doing what you were doing? You see, I think many times we say, no, I don't want to keep doing it. And we go to sleep thinking, I'm going to change tomorrow. But we don't do it. And we don't do it, in most cases, because we don't understand why we're doing what we're doing. We really don't have a real solid understanding of the paradigm. And if we don't have an understanding of the paradigm, we're going to have difficulty changing it. What we want to do here this weekend is help you really understand this. Now, someone once said, when you read a good book through the second time, you don't see something in it you didn't see before. You see something in yourself that wasn't there before. So you may have been through one of these seminars, or you may have been studying this material, and think, but I know that. Don't look at it that way. Ask yourself, are you getting the results you want to get? If you're not, you don't really understand this yet. I've been reading this book every day since October the 21st, 1961. Now, the book's falling apart. I got a bigger elastic around it to hold it together. And I know there's parts of this that I don't have right yet. I know that because the business isn't the way I want it yet. I want us to grow. I want us to get much, much bigger. And we're going to, because we're doing the things we have to do. But for us to do that, the change has to take place inside, not outside. It's not the systems that we have in the computer. It's not the number of people that we hire. It's what's going on in our own mind. If just one of us has a bad attitude, whoo, it spreads through the company. Because you see, it's in the air. It's a vibration. And if a person's not thinking, bang, like that, they move into that vibration. They pick up the energy. They don't understand what's going on. All we have to do is work on ourselves. We don't have to work on anything else. Just on me. That's all I have to work on. Now, I think you want growth and I want growth. I want my income to grow. I never earn enough money. I want the business to grow. I want my health to improve. I want my social life to improve. Every aspect of my life, I want growth. And I'm telling you something, if you want growth anywhere, there's one thing you have to understand. It takes change. Now, you frequently hear, people say, we resist change. That's not true. We do not resist change. We resist being changed. There's a big difference there. You do not resist change. You resist being changed. If somebody else decides you're going to change, you'll resist that. If a change comes about in your company, just whoop, like that, somebody made a decision, you may resist that. But when you listen to that and say, or this, and say, I'm going to change this, you won't resist it. It'll happen. Now, I have found if you want to get something, all you have to do is give it away. And the more you give away, the more it comes back. This is an absolute law. It comes back equal and opposite. You put the energy out, it all comes back. In fact, when you put good out, your brain takes on an equal amount of like energy simultaneously with sending it out. You don't even have to wait. Now let this really sink into your consciousness. You can create your own economy. It's got nothing to do with what your country's doing. It's got nothing to do with what the stocks are doing. It's got nothing to do with your history. It's got nothing to do with your family. It just has to do with your own thinking. You can literally create your own economy. I was sitting yesterday with Robert Ascuzzi and Phil Goldfine. The three of us were sitting there thinking, we created a concept in our mind that's worth millions of dollars, literally. Just in idle conversation. Everything starts in your mind, in your own thinking. Now, if you're thinking, well, you haven't studied this long enough, don't think that. Don't think anything that will take you in any direction other than the one you want to go in. Just see yourself going where you want to go, doing what you want to do. Now, this may sound like I'm overly simplifying it, but you can't. It's in our own thinking. We want to get a picture in our mind of the world that we want to create for ourselves. Then go about creating it. Before I ever read that book, or met anyone that had done anything of any consequence with their life. I used to dream. I used to dream of a nice car, nice trip, nice clothes. I'd dream it, but it was so short-lived. And as soon as they come on, I'd reject them, because I couldn't do that. I can't do that. I was into, I can't do this. I can't have this. I can't be that. I didn't even understand just how wrong I was. And it took some real serious work to change that. I'm studying a small piece of literature now. It's double-spaced. It's only 3.5 pages. Affirmative power. I've been reading it, studying it, seriously studying it, every day for about 6 weeks. Because I've gained an understanding, if I keep studying the same thing over and over again, I'm going to start to see something that I didn't see before. That's how awareness is developed. All you need is awareness. That's all you need. Think of this for a moment. Think of how many of these phones that we have. There's millions of them. Literally millions of them. Do you know, there's more power in this thing than was in the computer that first took the first rocket to the moon. There's more power in this. Yeah, wow. And I carry it around in my pocket for my own personal use. But you're doing the same thing. Do you know we could have always had these? Always. Now, I remember when I was a kid, we didn't have a phone in our house. Not many people did. And I remember when we got our first phone, the number was Oxford 3137. This is during the Second World War. It was a long time ago. It was a party line, so when you got on it, you would hear click, and it would get fader. People were listening in on the call. You know why we did that? Because we didn't know how to do this. We didn't make anything that didn't exist. Everything already exists. Nothing's created or destroyed. All science and all theology teach that. So the way to make these phones has always been here. We all have our own frequency. If I have your frequency programmed in here, it won't matter where you are. I can hit it. You'll get it. Just before I come over here, I called Sandy Gallagher. And she answered the phone. And she was in the air. She was on a plane. But her phone rang. I said, you know, I frequently get calls in the air, too. Yeah. Well, we've always been able to do this, but it's only recently that we are able to do it. And it's because we weren't aware of how to do it. Stop and think of the computers. I have a computer here that just got so much information in it. And I can just stick it in a little bag, take it on the plane, and we get past 10,000 square feet or 10,000 feet in the air, I can start working. I'm going to be online. I'm connected to the whole world. Now, you know this is relatively new stuff, but it isn't really relatively new. It's that our awareness is relatively new. We've always been able to do this, always. Yet you don't need a degree from Harvard or something to do these things. You just have to do them. Quit spending time thinking of why you can't. You might have a very valid reason, throw it away. It's not doing you any good. See, for years, I never went to school. I went to high school for 2 months. That's all the formal education I've got. But I teach this now to psychiatrists, psychologists, all kinds of MBAs. That just meant that they stayed for a certain period of time and passed certain exams. It doesn't mean that they really develop a greater awareness. Awareness is the whole deal. Our objective here in this life is to become aware of our oneness with this power, with spirit. We've got awesome power locked up within us. Yet this paradigm is holding us back. And we didn't even build it. So we're letting somebody else's thoughts that were passed along in the genes genetically, and then environmentally when we were children, we're letting those ideas control our life, control our health, our wealth, I mean, everything. I think it's time we quit doing that. You see? Now, it's not uncommon for a person to want to build their business to a certain point, and what they look at is how long it took somebody else, and that's about how long it'll probably take us. No. Forget about what somebody else did. How long do you want it to take? Work expands to fill the time allotted for it. If you think it's going to take a long time, it's going to take a long time. If you think you can do it fairly fast, you're going to do it fairly fast. There's nothing complicated about this. All those reasons why it takes a little while, no, they're not valid. Forget about them. Now look here. People set goals, they usually set an A-type goal. And that is because they know how to do it. They'll have a goal to get a car. They've had new cars off and on for years. They know how to do that. That's not a goal. Or they may graduate and they do something what they think they can do. I think I can do this. If this happens, if that happens. These are piddly little things, and it's not the way to go about a goal at all. You see, whatever your heart's desire is up here waiting for you. You name it and claim it. See, the fact that you can think it, it's there. Thought is the preamble to everything. If you can think it, you can do it. Now, religious leaders, philosophers have been telling us that for a long time, but I don't think we understood it. We've got to realize that thinking is the highest function that we're capable of. And you're going to ask yourself, well, what am I actually doing? There's a power that's flowing to and through us. You can actually photograph this power leaving your body. It's energy. It's pure unadulterated spirit. And it has no direction. When it flows into our consciousness and we think, we're given it direction. Now, unfortunately, most people are in the habit of thinking the same way about the same things over and over again. What we want to do is stop. Say, I'm going to think differently about that. I'm going to think I can do it faster and then figure out how to do it. I'm going to think I can earn that much in a week and then figure out how to do it. I can earn more money in an hour now than I used to be able to earn in a year. Same guy, same mind, it's just that the awareness have changed. And as your awareness changes, your life changes. As your awareness changes, the vibration that you're in changes. Vibration is the law of the universe. The law of vibration decrees, everything moves, nothing rests. We literally live in an ocean of motion. That wall is moving right now. You say it doesn't look like it's moving to me. Get a microscope and go and look at it, and you'll see a mass of molecules dancing right before your eyes. Well, this instrument you're living in, this body, it's moving. It's moving so fast it appears to be still. But when this energy flows in, and we think that controls the vibration we're in. You think bad thoughts, you'll move into a bad vibration. Think good thoughts, you'll move into a good vibration. Now, whatever frequency you're on or whatever vibration you're in, it's going to dictate what you attract. Attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is vibration. Well, you can control the vibration you're in, and you just want to get in a good vibration, you're just going to attract nothing but good stuff to you. So you see yourself with what you want, you put yourself on that frequency when you do that. Everything operates on different frequencies. And what we want to realize is that whatever our heart's desire is, it's here. Where do you think everything came from? I get a little microphone stuck in the knot in my tie. It'll amplify my voice, and everybody can hear it clearer. I had a little flipper here. There's no wires on it, but I touch it and the screen changes. Boom, boom. You see? It's like magic. When I started these seminars, I had a big chalkboard in the front of the room. And I had to have all kinds of chalk and all kinds of wet cloths and dry cloths. And I'd put an idea on the chalkboard, and then I'd have to wash it and dry it, and then do another one. Now, boom, I just touch a button, like it. Why? Someone figured out how to do this. And that's what you want to do, and that's what I want to do. We want to stretch. We want to stretch. Let's make up our mind that we're going to stretch. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something. Odds are you don't know everybody at your table. Do you know everybody at your table here?
Yes, sir.
How you doing? You do? Good man. He was the only one that does. Okay? How are you? Listen, I want you to talk to the people at your table about what you'd like to change, or what you'd like to get out of this. Don't spend a long time, because I want each one of you to share an idea. What you would like to get out of this program. Now, we're going to be here till Sunday. And we're going to be firing a lot of really good information at you. Okay? I'm going to get Phil to bring in all his hardware on Saturday and show you what he's done. This guy is an absolutely incredible student. Oh, believe me. Wait, now listen. I met him. He was earning a couple $100,000 a year, but that's all he had. Today, he earns millions of dollars. He's called me a couple of times where he knocked off $1 million in a couple of days. He's won an Oscar, an Emmy, a Tony. I mean, some of the things that have happened, it's just absolutely incredible. And he will tell you, choosing this information. So if you're here and you're new, Peggy here, I met
40 years ago.
40 years ago.
I was 3.
And I was 5. How the hell did we get to know each other? We were in our playpens. Now listen, she was broke and she had a bad attitude. She did. And I was speaking at a company that she was working in. And I quoted Vernon Howard, your favorite author. He said, "You cannot escape from a prison if you don't know you're in one." And that sunk into her mind. And boom, boom. And she realized the door wasn't even locked. And some of the things she'd done will blow your mind. I want you to talk to the people at the table and find out what they're doing. And then, as you listen to them, they may have a huge idea. You might be thinking, oh, hell, they're not going to be able to do that. Though some of you will think that. Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield, Bernie Torman, there was a bunch of us. I started a program called the $1 Million Forum. I got a hold of Mark. I thought about it on a plane going to Asia. I phoned Mark and I said, "Do you want to do this?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "We're going to teach people how to earn $1 million by setting up multiple sources of income." Well, in about the second or third seminar we were doing, he came over, he said, "Proctor, you got lots of stories. Give me some stories." Jack and I are going to start a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. I said, okay, so I gave him some stories. That's what he wanted. And then he said, this was in the early 90s, he said, "We're going to sell 50 million before the turn of the century." Oh, the guy is smoking something. If you sell 1 million books, you've hit it out of the park, way out of the park. He's going to sell 50 million. I thought, you know, Hanson, you just got an uncontrollable imagination. You're crazy. I was thinking that, and I'm putting on a seminar with him. In fact, I thought of the seminar. He didn't sell 50 million. They sold 74 million. And I think they've gone over 1 billion. Time magazine called it the publishing phenomena of the 90s. I learned something there. It doesn't matter how stupid your idea seems to me, I'm not going to say you can't do it. I'm not even going to think you can't do it. We have a young consultant in our company. She's not very big. And when she first came to us, she looked like a very confused young lady. And she's a consultant. And she sold her car to become a consultant. I thought I don't know. The most she had ever earned a year was $35,000. Northern Ireland. She was a nurse. Her first year, she earned over 300. Last year, she earned $1 million. She just built a new house. And what's the singer's name?
What's the singer's name?
Tell me, whose house? Van Morris, is it? Van Morrison. Yeah, she built a house right next door to him. Yeah. She had nothing. Nothing. But she got an idea. Last year, she earned over $1 million. So if somebody says something that it sounds a little nuts, say, God bless you. I want to listen to you more because my mind doesn't think that big yet. Is that a good idea, Dolan?
It's a good idea, Bob.
Dolan said it, that settles it. All right? Now listen. I remember Cynthia saying, I need to raise $200,000. How do you think I could do that? I said, I don't know. Let's see ya. And I said, well, that's not that much. I said, find 20 guys, or 10 guys to each give you 200,000, or 220,000. Oh, yeah, didn't think of that. And she said, well, you give me 20,000? And I started to kick myself, you know. What the hell did I give her that idea for? Listen, that's how she started. She has earned literally millions of dollars. Millions. And there are thousands, not a few, thousands of children in Africa going to school, graduating, becoming doctors, dentists, engineers, because she kept asking for more money. Now, if she had told you that she was going to do that here at the table, you'd think this chick is nuts. She can't do that. The truth is, there isn't anybody in the room that can even guess at what you're capable of doing. No one knows what you're capable of. Your potential is infinite. Do you know what infinite is? It doesn't stop. There's no beginning, no ending. Get your mind into the right space. Who are you with? You with David?
Yes, sir.
Well, how about Alex? He's earning $1 million a month.
Jeez.
Yeah. I was working with a guy they work with. He was chauffeuring me around in a Rolls-Royce SUV. I thought, what the hell? I didn't even know they made them. I said, well, you're in this month. He's a little over $1 million. It's all in ideas. Ideas are in the air. Remember that song, Love is in the Air? Well, everything's in the air. Go ahead now. And if you don't know everybody at the table, just tell them who you are. Say, hi, I'm Bob. And I'm going to have 100,000 consultants all over the world teaching this information in a very short period of time. And I'm going to attract the right people to help me do that. Go ahead. Share with the table what you're going to do. Now, the number of people that really stretch are few and far between. We're talking about a very small percentage of the population. Most of us have been raised with the idea it's better to be safe than sorry. That is not so. That is a crock. It's not better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, you may go after things and you might lose a lot of money, you might be embarrassed, but at least you give it a shot. I could tell you all kinds of stories that would spoil your week, where I lost, where it didn't work out. But there's more stories on how it did work out, because I wouldn't let that stop me. I just kept going. And I kept going because I mixed with the right people, I read the right books, and I listened to the right recordings. Let's make up our mind, regardless of what you've been doing in the past, you're going to stretch. You're going to make some things happen in your life that are very big and very beautiful. Now, Robert Heinlein wrote this in a book, Strangers in a Strange Land. He was a science fiction writer back in the 60s. He said, in absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. Have you any idea the number of people that are just sitting playing, I don't know, some game on a computer? They're talking about nothing. Do you know that they're in the majority? They really are. I call it the chatter of the masses. If you happen to be caught up in that, make up your mind that that's going to stop right now. Joel Barker wrote a book around 1990. It was an incredible book. It's called Paradigm. And some of the things in it are just shocking that we read about what happened to people because of paradigms. He said to be able to shape our future, we've got to be willing and able to change the paradigm. Now, are we able? We've got infinite potential. No one knows what we're capable of. There's nobody alive. The wisest among us can't even guess at what you are capable of doing. Do you know you've got more power in your hand, potential power, than is required to light up this whole hotel for about a week? There's around 11 million kilowatt hours per pound potential energy locked up in the electrons in the atoms of your body. No one can guess at what we're capable of doing. And most people, well, if I try it, what if it doesn't work? You'll find out it doesn't work. But get out and do it. You're going to hear from Anders Hansen here. Stand up here, just wave at the crowd, okay? Now, I'm going to introduce him to you. I met him 3 years ago, is it? Seems like last week. 3 years ago, we were in the Bellagio Hotel in Vegas. And he came over, I was in the lobby, I think, and he came over and introduced himself, and he apologized for just barging on me like that. And he said, but I've been studying your material. He said, I would just love to talk to you for a minute. I said, I don't have a minute right now, but if you want to meet in the morning for breakfast. So the next morning we met. And he had an idea. I said, that's a great idea. I said, I'll help you do that. Well, you know, there's all kinds of people who will help you with your idea. He's going to demonstrate, he's going to show you his idea. And I'll figure out when we do it, and I'll tell you later, because I'm not sure. But he's built a company around this idea. And he said a few thousand people that are improved, they live in a better life because of it. He asked for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You willingly give and graciously receive. I was just back at the table there talking to the streamers. We have a camera where we can communicate separately with them. And I was telling them that's one of the secrets of success. You willingly give and graciously receive. You can't give too much. It's like putting money in the bank. In fact, it's better than that because you're dealing with a universal intelligence, and it always comes across. You willingly give and graciously receive. Now, that probably is not part of your paradigm because not many people have been raised with that idea. They begrudgingly give a little and they try and get as much as they can back. Don't worry, just willingly give and graciously receive. It's such a phenomenal law. So we got to pick some of these things up and then ask yourself, do I do that just automatically? Is that a habitual part of my nature? If it's not, let's make it a part of our nature. Like, I just finished telling you a few minutes ago, I've been at this for 59 years. But I am as fascinated with the accuracy of how this works today as I've always been. It's just mind-boggling when I see how accurate this works. My mind is always on what we're doing on our company and where we're going and how can we do it faster and better and bigger. And whenever I build an idea in my mind to move, I attract whatever I have to attract. That's how I attract Sandy Gallagher. You know? Oh, it is. Listen. She was a very successful attorney, a securities attorney. She was buying and selling banks. And I said, what? Yeah. I watched her one time. We were at Niagara Falls. I don't know what the hell we were doing over there. There was a bunch of us there anyway. And she said, I got to go. And she's on the phone, I think in a little coffee shop or something, selling a bank. I said, what? Turning them public, merging them. Absolutely brilliant. But she doesn't do that anymore because she's doing this now. We attracted her. You will attract whatever you require. It will walk right into your life. But you've got to believe that. You've got to know whatever you need will be there. You just work at improving you, changing the paradigm. Now, I love the way Buckminster Fuller put it. He said, you never change things by fighting existing reality. And that's what most people do. They're forever trying to fight existing reality. Because you don't change things that way. He's to change something, you have to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. When Sandy joined our company, she became my partner, she built a new model. It's a very successful model. And it's becoming more successful all the time. I don't know what you need, and odds are pretty good you don't know what you need to get to wherever you want to go. But things happen. Happened for you, didn't it? You know? Absolutely phenomenal. We are wired into the entire universe. Now, that may be out of your thinking, but understand this. If I hit send, and I took a picture, and I hit send, if I'm sending it to your number, it won't matter where you are, you'll get it simultaneously with me sending it. You could be in Kuching or Kota Kinabalu, and I hit send, and bang, like that, you've got it on your phone. And you're on the other side of the world. It'd take you 25 hours to get there, in the air. But it doesn't take 25 seconds for you to get it here. Why? Because we're dealing with frequencies. Everything is here. Everything you want is here. You got to get on the frequency that you have to be on to get what you want to get. How do you get on that frequency? By seeing yourself already there. We're too physical. We're grounded. We're tied into the earth. And we've got to stop that. That's not the way to do it. We let the outside, we let the physical results control us. Understand the physical results are nothing but the manifestation of what's been going on in here in the past. We want to change that. You build a new model. I spent all day yesterday till late last night building a model. It's not complete yet. But I'm building a model. And I'm going to execute it. I'm going to execute it just as sure as it's dark tonight. And everything that's required will come. It'll come. Just whoop, here it comes. And it will for you. So don't fight existing reality. Build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. This is probably one of the most beautiful and truest statements you'll ever see. It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. If you haven't seen that before, write it down. Burn it into your mind. It's not who you are. It's who you think you're not. So instead of saying, well, I couldn't do that. Start to see yourself as a person that could do it with ease. Money is a great yardstick because you can measure it right to the penny. You can't measure happiness. You can't measure health. You go to a doctor and they give you a clean bill of health, walk out and drop over. You know, you can't measure that. But money you can measure right to the penny. Now, I'm not suggesting you let money control you. You want to control it. But it's a good way to measure, are you moving ahead if you're in a profit-making business? You want to see how fast you can earn this, how fast you can earn that. And then have something very constructive to do with it. Because money is it's a servant. It serves us. Self-confidence is the first requisite to great understanding or undertakings. It's there's a marvelous essay that Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote on self-reliance. His essay on self-reliance. It's absolutely incredible. In that essay, he said something. He said, we'll all hit a point in our unfoldment when we'll realize that envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. Now think of that. There will come a time in everybody's unfoldment when they'll realize that envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. To envy someone else is to say, I believe you got something going for you that I haven't got going for me, and I'm going to envy you. If they've done it, that's positive proof you can do it. If one person in town can get wealthy, everybody in town can get wealthy. Wallace D. Wattles wrote that in The Science of Getting Rich. The Science of Getting Rich was the foundation of the movie The Secret. We're going to be teaching The Science of Getting Rich in Dallas in March, I believe it is. It's a phenomenal program. There'll come a time in everybody's fulfillment when they'll realize envy is ignorance. And imitation is suicide. You can't be like anybody else. Nobody can be like you. You are unique. There's nothing in the whole universe that's like you. You are a unique part of the whole scheme of things. There's a beautiful poem that I put in 2 different places in the Born Rich book that said, the one and only you. I want you to listen to that, but don't just hear my voice. I'm going to talk about you. I want you to think about you. It says, every single blade of grass and every flake of snow is just a wee bit different. There's no two alike, you know. From something small, like grains of sand, to each gigantic star, each one was made with this in mind, to be just what they are. How foolish then to imitate, and how useless to pretend when each one of us comes from a mind whose ideas never end. There'll only be just one of me to show what I can do. And likewise, you should be really proud that there's only one of you. You see, I think one of the big problems we have, when we're little kids, we say, Mommy, Daddy, or whatever, I want. And they may be busy, they probably are. And we're interrupting them, and they'll say, well, how the hell are you going to do that? Where do you think the money's going to come from? We're just little kids. I mean, we don't know how to solve that kind of stuff. How are you going to do that? Well, the kid doesn't know. And because they get those answers all the time, pretty soon they get the idea they can't do it. It would be nice, but they can't do it. Wouldn't it be different if we just took a moment and say, well, of course you can have it. You can have anything you want. Let's sit down and think about it. We got an imagination. It's a higher faculty. None of the other animal lives have it. We're the only creature on the planet that has the imagination. We've got some other tools, too, that nobody else has, just us. And we just start seeing yourself with it. Now, see, some parents would think, well, God, you start teaching a kid to do that, you're really going to have a problem with them. No, you're not. There's some kids raised that way. They go on to create great things. Because at a very early age, they learn they can do anything. I had an associate over in Kuala Lumpur that I worked with for quite a while. He had a little boy, 4 years old. The kid could speak 4 languages. They thought nothing of it. Glenn Doman, who's gone now, I believe, but he wrote a marvelous book, How to Multiply Your Child's Intelligence. He was teaching kids to read before they could talk. And when they could talk, you give them a book and a CAT scan, they'd read it to you. We have no idea what we're dealing with when we're dealing with our mind and our potential. We got to get rid of this idea we can't do anything. You can do anything you want, anything you can think of. And we're going to find that our confidence comes with knowledge. The more we learn, the more confident we become. Like, you'll hear people say they don't have any confidence. That's not true. They do have confidence, maybe not in a particular area. They're confident they can drive their car. They're confident they can get dressed. They're confident they can put their makeup on or shave. So to say they don't have any confidence, it's not an accurate statement. Well, how do we become confident? By gathering more information. Now, I'll tell you something else. If you don't keep gathering information, your confidence will start to wane. You'll start to lose it. You've got to keep gathering information. You want your confidence to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And if you don't keep studying, your confidence will start to slip. Like with the knowledge I've got, I could coast to the end of my life earning all kinds of money and having a pretty good time. But I know I won't go beyond where I'm at, and I'll start slipping back. Got to keep studying. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, but I went to bed fairly early too. And I was studying for a couple of hours. I get up early in the morning and I study every morning because I want to get better at what I'm doing. And I know I can get better. I know that I'm nowhere near as effective as I can be. We've got to get this right in our mind. This idea of lack of confidence, it's something that anybody can change. I remember when I first started to study this, we're so afraid of what other people might think of us. It's so silly. I only went to high school, as I said, for 2 months. So I had a vocabulary that you could stick in a thimble. I mean, there was not much to it. And if you were talking, you said something and you used a word I didn't understand, I would never say I don't understand what you're saying, but I didn't understand. So, I mean, I was lost in the conversation really fast. But I was afraid to say I don't understand that word. And I started to study Earl's material, and Earl talked about how important vocabulary is. In fact, he made a recording on it. And I started to study words. Now, if you use a word that I don't understand, I'll say, wait, stop. I don't understand what that word means. I'll ask you right there. Because I know if I don't get that cleared up, everything you say from there on, odds are pretty good I'm not going to understand it. You get lost in the conversation. Why wouldn't I tell you I didn't understand? Because I was afraid of what you thought of me. You got to quit worrying about what other people think about you. If you knew how little they did think about you, you wouldn't be so concerned what they are thinking. Terry Whitaker wrote a book. The title of it, What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And it isn't. What other people think of you is none of your business. Quit worrying about what they think. I hope you like me, but if you don't, you got a problem. Because I like me. I don't give a damn whether you like me or not. I really don't. I hope you do, and you should. I'm a nice guy. But if you don't, it's not going to bother me. Now, for many years, that would have driven me crazy. Not anymore. Not a bit. This confidence concept is pretty big. And the more you study this material that we're giving you, the more confident you're going to become. Now, there's 2 things you have to know if you want to create wealth. And I'm not going to give you a brain hernia. This is really simple stuff. 1, you've got to know where you are. 2, you've got to know where you're going, and then you've got to get moving. This is where I am, that's where I'm going. You can know where you're going. If you don't know where you're at, it won't do you any good. Let's suppose you jump out of a plane and shoot safely to Earth. It's overcast, can't see the stars. You know you're on the North American continent, that's all you know. You don't know where you are. Your objective is to get to Nacogdoches, Texas. What way are you going to start walking? You wouldn't know. You could be in Atlanta and start to head towards Philadelphia. You could be in Seattle and start toward Vancouver. You see, you can know where you're going. If you're not honest to yourself where you're at, you're wasting your time. You've got to know where you're at. And you've got to know where you're going, and then you've got to get moving in that direction. It is so simple and so obvious, you have to ask yourself, why, if that's all why are so many people stuck? And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people stuck. Well, for a long time I would have said, there's what's missing, don't have a goal. Got to have a goal. I've had a goal and had it on a card for many, many years, ever since I started to read Think and Grow Rich. You got to have a goal. But you know, I've changed my attitude. I think, now, I'm pretty articulate about my goal. I've got it written out and got a clear picture of it. You might not have done that, but I think we could say there's something you want. You've never written it out. You've not really been very articulate about it, but there is something you want. So we could say that would constitute the goal. That's not the problem. That is not the problem. Here's the problem right here. It's where you're at. Most people really don't know. Do you know what you do? Do you know why you do it? Do you know how you do it? Do you know how often you do it? Can you see where this is really controlling your life? This is really important. There's the problem right there, the paradigm. Because if you want something more than you've got to give more than you're giving. You've got to do more than you're doing. And you start doing that, you'll move ahead like a rocket. No one knows what you're capable of doing. There isn't one soul alive that knows what you're capable of doing. And that includes you. We're dealing with infinite potential. We've got power within us that, you know, it goes beyond the scope of our imagination. I was talking about the chicken soul for the soup books. Mark has just put out a new book with his wife, Crystal, and it's called Ask. That's it. Ask. That's the name of the book. And it's the bridge that'll take you from where you are to your destiny. Now, that book will probably sell a few million copies. Ask. That's what most people don't do. They don't ask. They don't ask for enough. When you take a look and think, all I have to know is where I am and where I'm going, and then realize that very few people have this down. Very few people, maybe 5 people out of 100. 95 out of 100 have not got this figured out. The paradigm is controlling them, literally controlling them. It's not the opportunity's there. Now, this is a black and white deal. There's no gray matter here. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how many hours you put in. If the paradigm does not change, ultimately, the results will remain much the same 1 year from the next. The end of December, there's all kinds of people looking at the results, and it's almost identical to the previous year. I have sat in many executive offices because I've sold a zillion corporations in my life. And I'd sit down with the VP of sales. And I would say, give me the names of 2 people, first names, that you're familiar with in your company. Well, maybe Betty and Harry. He knew that their last names were. I said, you know, he would ask me, you know, what are you going to do to help us? I said, you know what those people are going to be doing in July of this year? You can go into memory and you can predict where they're going to be in July or in October. Here we are, it's in January, but you know what those people, where they're going to be, where their sales will be a few months from now. I looked at him, what do you mean? I said, their sales aren't going to change very much. You go into memory in your computer, and you'll be able to tell me. And you know damn well you can do that. Yeah, he said, that's true. And I said, when you go to set goals for the year, what you do is you look at your history. And you let the history dictate then what increase is going to be. You say, well, maybe 5 to 10% increase. I said, why would you do that? Have you any idea what the hell you're doing? Not many people would call on a VP of a big company and level with them like that. You know why? They're not confident enough. But I am. Because I know what I'm talking about. Now, if you took me into an engineering office and they're talking about the engineering, I say, I don't know. I don't know my ass on page 9 when I get in there. That's why a person should stick to their knitting and get better at it all the time. And I've done that for 60 years. But you know and I know that we let our history dictate where we're going. That's a dumb game. That's doesn't make any sense at all. Why the hell would we do that? It's our paradigm. We've been always doing that. Do you agree here? Do you have a paradigm problem? Yeah, so do I. That's what we got in common. You know the good thing? We're both smart enough to recognize that we have that. When we don't recognize it, we're toast. You're going to lose. It's a black and white deal, believe me. You can say, well, there's all kinds of factors that come into play. No, there isn't. This is it. This is it. When I talked to Phil, I said, Phil, he said, can you help me? And I said, yes, I can. It'd probably blow your mind what I could help you, how I could help you. But I said, you got to do exactly what I tell you. And if you don't, I'll fire you. I won't help you. If I coach somebody one-on-one, it costs them a lot of money. And if they don't do what I tell them, I fire them. I won't help them. And I don't give them a refund. And I tell them that right at the start. We're not playing a game. I've only got so much time. I don't get any more time than you. I get all there is. Yet when it's gone, it's gone. This is my life that I'm dealing with. I have no intentions of screwing around with my time. I charge a lot of money to do what I do, and I'm very effective. I'm not very effective at anything else. I'm not permitted to do anything around the house because I screw it up every time. And I don't mind admitting it. I just sit there and let somebody else do it. Now, I remember when I started that, we had a guy, Frank, that cleaned the pool. It used to bother me. I would sit there and I'd watch Frank. I thought I should be helping him. And Joe cut the lawn. Joe's been cutting our lawn ever since we moved into that house. It was 35 years ago. And it used to bother me because I should be helping him because I'm just sitting there reading under an umbrella. It was a hot day. He's out cutting the lawn, clean. It doesn't bother me a bit anymore. I was coaching a guy that had more money than God. And he had a place at Cap Antibes in France, in the south of France. He had another one in Gstaad. He had a beautiful place in Eaton Square in London. If I'd taken you into his place in London, you would have thought it was Prince Charles' place. This guy had lots of money. He had a yacht, 120-foot yacht, that he used to ship from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, ship it on a ship, on Dock Express. He said, well, it's faster than sailing it, or cheaper or something like that. And I used to sit and talk to him. Paid me a lot of money. And I remember one time we were in Cap Antibes. And he had a beautiful place. It was right across the bay from Cannes. And in the morning, there was a picnic table out in the yard. And I was out there, and they brought in some fresh scones from, we're in the south of France. I mean, you get the best there. And we're sitting there eating, and some jam and some tea. And I was finished. I picked up. I was going to take the cups and that inside. I said, don't do that. He took a little bell and rang it, and people come out to take it. He said, if you do that, they would be out of work. I started to think about this. I thought, you know something, you have to learn to be served. You do. You have to learn to be served. I learned it. I love it. It's true. Hashem taught me that. You've got to learn to be served. You see, that's the way he was raised. That's the way he was raised. I wasn't raised that way. You get it or you don't get it. You go and get it or you clean up. I wasn't raised that way. I had to learn it. But I got to the point where it didn't bother me at all to watch Joe cut the lawn or Frank clean the pool. There were a couple of ladies work the house. It doesn't bother me at all. They can serve me. They'll make me something to eat and bring it for me. Because that's what they get paid to do. You have to learn almost everything if you want to really change the quality of your life. You've got to realize that we're being controlled right now. You are controlled. I'm controlled by a paradigm. You say, well, how did we get it? Well, stop and think of where you came from. Little particle of energy from mom and a little bit from dad come along, and they were in harmony. They were in harmonious vibration. They became one, and that was you. And then for 280 days, they kept attracting more particles of energy. All mom's habits, all dad's habits are in that little bit of energy. It's hard to believe that you could put 1,000,000 bits of information on a head of a pin. But we can actually do that now. And they are doing it. Why do you think you look so much like your relatives? Do you think it's an accident? When I was young, I had red hair. Now I got a mother. She didn't have red hair. I had a father. He didn't have red hair. I have a sister and a brother. They didn't have red hair. You'd be thinking, that could lead to all kinds of speculation, couldn't it? But my mother's father and all his brothers had red hair. So you see, jumps one generation into another, you look like your relatives. You see, I could tell you more about Farah. I don't think I've ever met you, but I could tell you all kinds of things about yourself. Yeah. She operates predominantly from the right hemisphere of her brain. Very creative, very high energy. You'd have a hard time staying behind the desk. You better earn a lot of money because you can spend it really fast. You see? You say, well, how do you know that? I just know that. I know exactly what she's like. She's a lover. She's got high energy, very creative. Nobody has to tell me. I know it. You know something? Everything around her tells me that. See this physical thing she's living in? That's not Farah. That's the body that Farah is living in. You never see Farah. You just see her body. You see the expression of Farah, but you don't see her. And that body vibrates, and it's vibrating so fast it appears to be still. And it glows. Yet there's energy coming. And you know you've got a mental faculty that can pick that up and you can read it just like a book. It is like a book. Did you know you had the faculty to do that? You're not sure.
Well, I'm not in touch with it, but yes, I do know.
You're not in touch with it.
Yeah.
Yes, you are in touch with it. You haven't learned to use it then. You see, now this is, I'm not doing this to embarrass you. I'm doing this to show everybody that you've got that. You see? We have mental faculties. You know, we're the only creature on the planet that's totally disoriented in our environment. All the other little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment. We're not. They blend in. We're totally disoriented. You know why? We've been given the mental faculties to create our own environment. That's kind of nice, isn't it? Yeah. That's what we can do. You see, that's your intuition that you're reading people with. You have intuition, perception, will, reason, imagination, and memory. They're all higher faculties. These are the most phenomenal tools. They're what make us who we are. You'd think we'd be taught in school that we have these and then how to use them. But the teachers don't even know it. You know, I picked, just as I was looking past Farah, I looked at you. You've got an interesting personality. Yeah, you confuse the hell out of yourself at times. There's a part of you that is just so persistent and stubborn, like a bull. And there's another part of you that's wishy-washy and sensitive. Your feelings, you get hurt just like that, and you have a tendency to hold it inside. There's a part of you do this, and there's another part saying, no, don't do it. Do it, don't do it. So you've got a lot of that going on. Do it, don't do it. You are almost an even balance between the right and left hemisphere of your brain. Farah's mostly right brain. You operate from both hemispheres of the brain, almost equal. One side's very analytical, the other side's very emotional and sensitive. You see? How would I know that? Because it's obvious. I know she's a woman. You'll say, Bob, that's brilliant. How did you figure that out? Everybody knows that. Everybody does not know that she's a woman. A baby doesn't know she's a woman. A baby has to develop the awareness of the difference in gender. If they haven't got the awareness, a baby's looking for a nipple. But if daddy puts her thumb near, the baby will start sucking on that thumb. Why? Lack of awareness. As the baby develops the awareness, life starts to change. But we've got to become aware that we have these higher faculties. And if you really want to change your paradigm, you've got to shift your thinking. You got to dig into it. There's a couple here. How's it going?
Great.
The academy.
Really good.
Are you in another place?
We are online now.
Really? I watched these two argue with each other, napping back and forth. They were coming to seminars and they wanted to do this, they wanted to do this, and they weren't doing it. And then all of a sudden, bang, like that, they started to do it. You started earning all kinds of money, and you started to do the thing you love to do. Of the people in the seminars, you've been coming for years, the change that took place, they stopped letting the paradigm control them. She owns a place called Puppy Academy. It's such a beautiful name. Yeah. Earning all kinds of money, having all kinds of fun doing what she loves doing. And why didn't she always do it? She didn't always do it because her paradigm was stopping her. Now, we're going to, I believe, take a break. And Brian, where's Brian? You're opening this? You got announcements? Okay. When you're on the breaks, talk to somebody you don't know. Your paradigm will have you talking to the person you do know. Put your hand out and introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. And say, how did you happen to come here? And then they'll tell you how they came, and then you tell them, and get interchange of ideas going. By Sunday night, you could have met all kinds of people. All right? Right? Take it away. Thank you.